stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and this is your latest Manchester United news. And have we got some big news coming out for you tonight? Multi-themed news in relation to Manchester United coming out from sources within the club that have look, basically we've had it verified and they've said, you know, we're not going to say it's not true. So very interesting developments around Erik ten Hag as that momentum builds. We've also got a multitude of journalists putting it out there that with regards to Manchester United, they are now looking to offer redundancy to a load of their employees, which is it's not football. Well, it is football. We are going to talk about it. I think it's very important when people are going to lose their job. It's not a good thing. And it's weird how Man United, as it reads, look like they're giving basically putting everybody up for redundancy, which is a bit of a weird one, I suppose. But also we're going to talk about De Zerbi and Southgate in a little bit, but let's fly straight into this. This is what you're here for. So basically, this is a long list of information that we've got hold of today. You may have seen it on our socials. We're happy to put it out there. I mean, the bottom line I will always say is that this situation is still very, very fluid. And obviously, Manchester United at any point could, change their mind, I suppose. I mean, what I'm trying to say is the review, they're not going to announce it tomorrow. They're not going to announce it the day after. So their review is still ongoing. But this is what we've got. Two key, get the wording right here because we've had it verified. Two key INEOS figures are now advocating for Ten Hag internally. What does advocating mean? Basically, it means that two very high up INEOS figures are saying that Ten Hag is the guy for Manchester United. Who they are, I don't know. I mean, we've had false rumours that it was Sir Alex Ferguson and Sir Jim Radcliffe. I would say that if they're key INEOS figures, then it's got to be the likes of Barada, Blanc, Brailsford, Wilcox. They're INEOS people. So yeah, this is live, Mr. Labman, which is why I would say welcome to Narayan, who is our latest member, your absolute legend. So first bit of news, and there's quite a bit to go through here. Two key INEOS figures are now advocating for Ten Hag internally. At first, they were uncertain. I'm reading this as the source. At first, they were uncertain, but after meeting with all the players and key staff, they have developed a more favourable view of Erik ten Hag. From within Carrington, there is starting to be a positive attitude change, and there is a growing awareness of the challenges United faced and the reasons behind them. Welcome to the Members Club, Edward Coffey as well. So those first three sort of sentences are massive, really, because there's a sea of change. And I think it's important to not disrespect the Baradas, the Brailsfords, the Blancs and the Wilcoxes, because whilst I think fan opinion is very important, and I've had that point this morning, I also think that these are not people that are just going to listen to fans and change their mind. I think that what has actually happened is that they have carried out their strategic review and they have seen that, like many of us have seen, there's very, very compelling reasons to stick with what we have and see what happens in year 3. Goldbridge going for the Chris Evans look. Don't know about that. Make sure you subscribe, by the way, and very much welcome to Andre Nilsson, the latest member of the Members Club, and Dre Andrew as well. Edward Coffey, you're a legend. Alan Noonan says, if INEOS sack Ten Hag, they are no better than the Glazers and they don't care about the fans. The club is bigger than anyone else. Miles, welcome to Members Club as well. You're going to go a long way, Miles. I just want to say as well, I'm going to say this just in case something actually happens. I wouldn't normally do this. I, for the first time in years, threw up for about an hour today. My stomach is very delicate. I've just had a banana and a piece of toast because I was starving. So I think I'll be okay to do the show, but I haven't thrown up in years and I don't know. I think it was something I ate. I'm all right to do the show, but I'm just feeling the food and I'm like, just in case I run out. I mean, I've done many things on a live stream, but I just want to know that. It's not alcohol, Robert. I haven't had a drink today. Anyway, so look, let's get back onto the show. Let's talk about what else we want to talk about here. So yeah, I think those three key points at the start of what we've got to read you. So this is coming from very good sources, close to the club, Carrington, and what is the current situation. So 2 key INEOS figures are now backing Ten Hag. They were uncertain, but after meetings and strategic review, they've developed a more favourable view of Eric. They also have acknowledged the challenges faced as well. This is, again, directly coming out. Injuries have significantly impacted the team's performance, contributing to some of the challenges faced on the field. But they also acknowledge the off-field issues and list Anthony, Greenwood, and Sancho as those. Notably, Rashford isn't on there. So you could say Rashford was an issue as well. But notably, what we've had is Anthony, Greenwood, and Sancho as off-field issues, all of which have. Anthony didn't start the season. Sancho wouldn't play for 3 months. And Greenwood, well, we think Eric Ten Hag wanted him to start the season. And obviously there was a turnaround from the club. Whether you agree with that or not, if you are a manager and you expect a player to be playing and they don't, you don't get a striker bought for you, it is a problem. Actually, you know what? I just want to say this. I actually think this is a problem that doesn't get mentioned enough. If Eric Ten Hag was under the impression, let me just look, you know my stance on this, and you know what I think should happen, but let's just add another layer here that you won't hear on the mainstream. Eric Ten Hag bought Rasmus Højlund as a young striker. We know that Man United were going to reintegrate Mason Greenwood. We know that. We saw the leak from The Athletic that they were going to reintegrate him. I think we even saw a leaked email, didn't we, from Richard Arnold. And then what happened is they changed their mind based upon a massive, massive uproar. I think that Eric Ten Hag would have been part of that expectation that Mason Greenwood was going to come back. So that happened around August. We did not get a replacement for Mason Greenwood. And if you're Eric Ten Hag going into the season expecting Mason Greenwood to be part of your squad and then he's not, you have to acknowledge, whether you agree with the decision or not, that is another off-field issue created by the football club. So I think it's another one that you have to add into that. So basically, there has been a change or an understanding of Ten Hag's challenges in relation to what he's faced on and off the pitch over this season. There is also a third strand to this. Kieran McKenna, who was accepted by the majority of decision makers at United to be a strong candidate to take the job, has fallen away as an option, and there's little trust in anyone else to do marginally better than Eric Ten Hag next season. But, and there is a big but here, he was on his way out before the final, and that has been confirmed to us. So whatever's changed over the last few days, on Friday, he was on his way out. And I stand by what I was told on Thursday night, that they basically made the decision. I think it was a wrong decision, and I think it shows good leadership to realise it was a wrong decision. I think they misread the room. I also think that they made a mistake, and I think that they're now looking at it in a correct way. But obviously, I'm quite encouraged when I hear things like, as much as Kieran McKenna was a strong consideration, beyond him, there isn't really anybody that makes the club think that they're better than Eric Ten Hag. And we've had this chat ourselves. I mean, De Zerbi's been linked to us by Italian reports. What a surprise. Tuchel's desperate for any job he can get. Potter, no thank you. And there really isn't anybody. I mean, one thing I will say, and this is not from this information we've had. This is more from stuff that's been said over the last few days and weeks. The Gareth Southgate interest was always genuine. I spoke about this in the international break. The Gareth Southgate to Man United story was always genuine. And lots of people have gone, oh, look at Goldbridge, look at Mark Ogden. No, it was never real. It was never real. It is real. Whether we like this or not, and you can put this in your pipe and smoke it, right? When it comes down to the Gareth Southgate links, there are very, very strong links to Dan Ashworth. Dan Ashworth signed off on Sam Allardyce as England manager. Let's not pretend that Dan Ashworth is some sort of super director of football who only goes for people like Ancelotti and Klopp and Pep Guardiola. He was part of the process of bringing Sam Allardyce in as England manager. he's got a very good relationship with Gareth Southgate. So the Southgate link to Man United is genuine. And whether you like that or not, it is. I don't think we're in any danger of getting him now because he's totally focused on England. But it's a scary thought that Man United may have sacked Erik ten Hag for Gareth Southgate. So, look, in summary of where we are, the momentum is building. I think that's a very, very, very obvious. And it's certainly moving a lot from where it was on Sunday or Saturday. You've got two key INEOS figures now championing Erik ten Hag, and they're championing him based on the off-field activities, the injuries, and also not really, whether you take it as a positive or not, there's not a viable manager out there that they can bring in. Now, in relation to Kieran McKenna, I've been very interested in this because I actually do rate Kieran McKenna as a coach, and I don't really want to throw him into the category of Thomas Tuchel or De Zerbi, who I just don't rate, really, if I'm being honest, anymore. I do rate McKenna. I just always felt it was too soon. And I think Man United have probably come to that conclusion as well. And I think that Kieran McKenna has come to that conclusion as well himself. So I am hearing that there could well be a release clause in the new contract that Kieran McKenna signs with Ipswich. And that would make a lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense. I would be very surprised if something like that wasn't there. What do you think that release clause would be? I suspect that it is a release clause for a big club like Manchester United, who, after 1 year, can take him for a reasonable price. So I do think that Kieran McKenna could well be a future Manchester United manager, but I don't think we're at that point where we would know that at the moment. And I think that he is very much somebody that Man United could look at. Because, look, I want Erik ten Hag to continue. I know a lot of you do. I know some of you don't. But I do want him to continue. But I can't guarantee that next season will go well. I can't guarantee that it will be perfect. I think it will. I think this is the project for Manchester United. But if it does go wrong, then you have got to look at other things. But I also think that, I mean, look, we won't spend long on this, but Kieran McKenna has apparently been swayed by Ipswich and the loyalty and project that they want to do. If he can keep Ipswich in the Premier League, even if it's fourth from bottom, he is the future, not the past, not the present, says Savage, and he's absolutely correct. If Kieran McKenna can keep Ipswich in the Premier League, he's won. He's proved himself, because Burnley and company came up with a load of razzmatazz and were shit. So if he can keep Ipswich in the Premier League whilst playing a good brand of football, then I think it would be very, very good. Sakin says, is Sir Jim Radcliffe one of these key INEOS figures, says Sakin. I don't know who those figures are. This information hasn't come in through me. It's come in through Sam, who works with the United Stand, and he's got a good network of people, but I trust it, and I don't know who it is. I don't know whether it is Sir Jim Radcliffe. I'm a little bit nervous if it was Sir Jim Radcliffe. I mean, who do you think the two key INEOS figures are that are championing Erik ten Hag now? I hope it's Barada, and I hope it's Blanc, because I think they're the two senior football people at the club. Sir Jim Radcliffe owns the football club, or the football side of things. Jason Wilcox is a technical director. Brailsford is experienced, but not in football. So I would hope it's Barada and I would hope it's Blanc, because they're the two people in that football club who, I don't think they understand Man United yet, but they would understand football. So I hope it's those. Klaus says, I'm a bit nervous about INEOS almost being Brexit orientated, Wilcox, Ashworth, McKenna. I think, proof will be in the pudding clause, but I think that you're right. I think there is a bit of nervousness around that. I don't know why we need a British call, but hopefully we don't follow suit with the players as well. Alan Noonan says, I'm in for Ten Hag, but can Arteta be future United manager? Absolutely not. I worry INEOS wants a British core man in Manchester. This is Nick James, second person tonight. Opre says, I've been a member for so long. I always enjoy your shows. Happy that it feels like Ten Hag stays now, but do you think they've given him a new deal? Look, Opre, what I will say is that throughout all that information that we've been given, the bottom line still is they were looking to get rid of him on Friday, and they haven't completed their review yet. I'm 70% sure they're going to keep Ten Hag now. So in the space of a day, I've gone from 80% yesterday morning that they'll sack him. Then the news broke yesterday, 50%. And today, I'm 70% sure he's going to stay. And the reason for that is that I know he was going to go on Friday. And I know that they're changing their mind now. And if they change their mind again, I think even Erik Ten Hag outers would concede we've got a really worrying business model, because you can't change your mind again. So I think we're moving towards them keeping Erik Ten Hag, but I still don't necessarily think it will happen until early next week. What's the news, people? Right, we've got a few people tuning in late. I'm just going to bullet news what we were fed early this evening. 2 key INEOS figures are now advocating for Ten Hag internally. At first, they were uncertain, but after meeting with the players and key staff, they developed a more favourable view of Ten Hag. From within Carrington, there is starting to be a positive attitude, and there is a growing awareness of the challenges that has been faced by Ten Hag and his players and the reasons behind them. Also, Kieran McKenna, who was accepted by the majority to be a decent choice, has fallen away as an option, and there's little trust in what else is out there. Off-field issues have been highlighted as Anthony, Greenwood and Sancho. On-field issues have been highlighted as lack of a left-back, transfers, injuries, and being hung out to dry. So I think all those things are very, very positive. But obviously, let's hope we move to a conclusion, because I still want to see Man United signing players as well soon. Okay, Edward, we've done that. Scott says, get well soon. Thank you, mate. Bit sore, but God, I get stomachache every now and again. I've not vomited in so long, and I don't want to talk about this for long, but bloody hell, it was, you know what I think it was? Battered fish. Every time I think, I'll never eat battered anything again. Battered sausage, battered fish. I just won't eat batter again. It reminds me of when I was hungover, when I was about 18, and I'd been to McDonald's the night before, absolutely hammered, ordered myself a strawberry milkshake and a Big Mac meal. I'd obviously ate the Big Mac meal. I put the strawberry milkshake in the fridge. I woke up the next day with a terrible hangover, and I was really thirsty. I went downstairs, opened the fridge, and drank all of the strawberry milkshake. I think you know what happened next, and I've never drank in it again. Matthew says, correct me if I'm wrong, but was there something on Sky Sports about Ten Hag staying on? There was showing positive images, says Matthew. Well, Ten Hag's on holiday at the moment. So, Eric, he won't come on. Paid for by SEG. Possible they just delay the announcement of sacking him because he won the cup and people would be more angry the day after, says Andreas. Andreas, I really did think that. I was somebody who thought that, but I think if they change their mind again, they're going to look really stupid. Look, INEOS will get ahead of things from a PR perspective, and they weren't happy on Friday that it leaked that they were going to sack him. They weren't happy about that. And I think they were stuck in a bad position, and we saw it on Saturday with the face of Sir Jim Radcliffe. They were in a very difficult situation. I don't think they fully enjoyed us winning it either because of it. But there has been a change towards Ten Hag in the last 48 hours. And if they change back again, they're going to look really stupid. And look, honestly, there isn't a manager out there. There isn't. I mean, if people want to get in the comments and tell us what manager you'd go for and why, please do. But there isn't a manager out there. There absolutely isn't. And if they went for a Potter or a Southgate or a De Zerbi or a Tuchel, I'd have major concerns about who's running our football club and their knowledge of this football club. Kamal says that United have sold Alvaro Fernandez. I really liked him, but ultimately you've got to trust, I suppose, the decision makers around that. Maybe there's a buyback clause, I don't know. Are the reports regarding us being removed from the Europa League true, says Jordan? I will spend 1 minute on this because it's an evening show and I can do. Please do smash a like on the video, everybody, and make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. We are fast on the road to 1.9 million, and then it's on the road to 2 million, which no football fan channel community has ever done on YouTube. So this is, we're breaking ground here, and you deserve to, because you're an amazing community, and you always have been. And we love the Summers, so make sure you subscribe. I've been ignoring this, Jordan. You might be aware of it. We spoke about it when Sir Jim Radcliffe bought the club, that he owns Nice and you cannot be in the same European competition. Nice have qualified for the Europa League and we have qualified for the Europa League. but Nice are higher in their league than we are, so they get the spot. Man United apparently have got to make a case to get into the Europa League. I'll tell you what, INEOS have annoyed me a lot in their behaviour towards Erik ten Hag. If we go into the Conference League, because Nice is still owned by Sir Jim Radcliffe, I think we've got every right to march on Old Trafford. Forget the Super League, forget the Glazers. We're not playing in the bloody Conference League when we've qualified for the Europa League. So I absolutely don't think this is going to happen, which is why that was very tongue-in-cheek. Absolutely don't think it will happen. Girona and Man City will play in the Champions League next season. Different business ownership model, yes. But we've seen it with Salzburg and we've seen it with the Red Bull Group and Leipzig. Different ownership model, yes. But I don't think UEFA are going to make an example of Manchester United Football Club when, and let's be honest here, I'm pretty sure United and INEOS have already sorted this out. But money talks. And when Man United are in the Europa League, as we've seen before, when it comes to Europa League socials, we get more interaction on a Man United Europa League tweet than you get on some Champions League tweets. Man United will be massive for that Europa League. They're not going to chuck us in the Conference League. They will put us in the Europa League. So I don't know how it's going to work. And it is a bit of a story, but I was told about a month ago that this is not going to be a problem. Technically, by law, it is, but I don't think it will be. I'm not concerned about it. I'm not concerned about it at all. But thank you, Jordan, because I would have forgotten to speak about that. Thank you very much for that. I'm just catching up on your chat, then I'm going to talk to you about a few other bits. English Saturn has got a conspiracy theory. He says, they set Erik ten Hag up to fail next season, then sack him and have it their way next season, and no one would know. Well, there's a theory behind that. I don't mind exploring that. Josh says, if INEOS have listened to the fans, I'm happy to say, banana and toast 10 minutes before the show, half an hour later, stomach settling fine. We're not going to have projectile vomiting for the first time on the United stand. We would have got it at about 3 o'clock this afternoon if it had been live, but not. I think we're all right at the moment. Josh Deacon says, if INEOS have listened to the fans, it shows the club is going in the right direction. Also, are you going to do any book signings? Josh, my book will be out soon. Yes. Very soon, actually. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, we will be doing some book signings and stuff. Just need to sort it out. We'll let you know when that happens. Ghosty says, what's your honest prediction for his next season if we keep Ten Hag? Well, I'll come back to that because I think that fits in with that conspiracy theory as well. And he says, do you reckon we'll get a good few signings? We could do really well. Badman says, what if he keeps McShit and continues to start him? It's a bit like that line at the end of Star Wars, isn't it? Return of the Jedi, where Darth Vader's dying in front of his son. And don't talk to me about bloody spoilers. If you haven't watched the film from the early 80s yet, you can jog on. So Darth Vader at the end, he's become good. Luke's trying to get him on the spaceship to fly away from the exploding Death Star. And Darth Vader says, take my mask off. Let me see you with my own eyes. And Luke says, if I take your mask off, you'll die. And he goes, nothing will stop that now. And I think in relation to, I've completely lost my point. In relation to Badman and whether Ten Hag will keep picking Scott McTominay, nothing will stop that now. It doesn't matter who the manager is, he'll get picked. Mourinho picked him, Oli picked him, Rangnick picked him, Ten Hag picked him. He's always going to get picked. So I don't think that we're going to see anything change in relation to that. I don't know why. I mean, I know people in the dressing room. He's a very popular and influential player. We saw that in the after party. I don't know why. I've never known why. But I don't think McTominay's going to go anywhere. I think for his career, he should do. Obviously, I think he could be playing every week for someone like Rochdale. But I'm joking. Definitely Preston. And I'm not trumping, by the way. I'm on a leather seat. So when I move, it does do a little bit of a... I've noticed that over the last few ones. I've heard that he might be going to Everton, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere. Some accounts are trying to spin the narrative that if INEOS do not sack Ten Hag because of the fans, they're just another Glazers. They're now getting creative, says Mario Franco. Yeah, but these people are just Glazer puppets, mate. I've been called out today. I was lying there in my bed, feeling rough, going on social media. I don't normally read replies. And I've seen these people going after me, and I thought, I can't, mate, just keep mentioning me. Please do. It's free publicity for the United stand. I don't get involved in it. I don't reply to them. They can quote tweet me all they like. They all do it. It's absolutely fine. They've not got very happy lives and they're jealous. So let them do it. But the hypocrisy is hilarious, because the Glazers never listen to the fans. So what I don't understand is, if INEOS listen to the fans, which they won't, they'll make their own mind up. But if INEOS take the fans' opinion on board, they're just like the Glazers. Oh, I forgot the Glazers did everything we wanted. Oh, that's why Old Trafford's rusting, because we all voted for that. That's why they tried to take us in the Super League, because we all wanted that. That's why they never do anything in the January transfer window, because we want them to save money. That's why they take dividends, because we've said, you've done loads of work, you need to treat yourself. I mean, when have the Glazers done anything for Man United? So how would INEOS, listening to the fans, be like the Glazers? If INEOS start listening to the fans, they'd be the opposite of the Glazers, you bloody idiots. What are they talking about? I don't know, Mario. I don't know. Chantana says, INEOS would have sacked Ten Hag if we lost the final. Does this worry you? Would you trust them even if they keep Ten Hag? Says Chantana. I don't trust any owner. I don't trust the FA. I don't trust the Premier League. I don't trust the PGMOL. I don't trust Liverpool's owners. I don't trust Chelsea's owners. I don't trust Manchester United's owners. I don't know why people think you're going to get to a point where you trust your owners. And I don't know why some of our fans are so eager to lube their heads up and climb up INEOS's arse. I don't know why. Surely the whole point of supporting a football club or loving football is to be opinionated, like you are with your friends and your family or down the pub or at school. The whole point is to have an opinion. Why would you? Why is the obsession to trust the owners of Man United? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're there to be held accountable. They're there to be applauded and lauded when they do well, and they're there to be criticised when they do bad things. That's what an ownership model is. I remember when I worked in a previous job and got promoted to manager, and my manager said, "Ditch them." I said, "Who?" "Ditch going out on a Friday night and come out with me." I said, "I didn't know you were like that." He said, "No, come out with the managers." I was like, "Why?" He says, "Great, we do, go to strip clubs and everything." And no, that's not what we said. But he said, "No, seriously, every Friday night, the whole team would go out for a drink." He said, "Stop going out with them now, because you're a manager and you will have to make unpopular decisions, because your boss will tell you to sack one of them. You can't be that guy." So I think that when it comes to ownership, they have to expect backlash from fans every now and again. And I think that, I don't know why people are, look, I think the Ten Hag out brigade thought they'd got their way. And they might still do. And I think the Ten Hag in brigade were depressed on Saturday. And it took a lot away from the FA Cup final. But they're now feeling what we did on Saturday. They're worried that they're not going to get their way. So they're coming out with nonsense like fan opinion doesn't matter. Well, I've been criticised a little bit over the last 48 hours and clipped up as per usual for sticking up for fans. And they're trying to ridicule me and they're trying to abuse me and have a pop at me. And I'm sort of like, Manchester United's biggest fan community presenter defends fans' shock. What do you think I'm going to do? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the United stand. Your opinion means shit. Absolutely nothing. Of course, I'm going to stick up for fans. Absolutely. And I firmly believe in it. So I think that argument's flawed straight away. And secondly, INEOS listening to fans around Eric Ten Hag are not like the Glazers, because the Glazers never listen to the fans. Absolutely not. Kim Min Jae, I saw something there. He could win the Community Shield. Love from Poland, says Bartak. Are you on holiday, Mark? Best place to go in the UK, says Nick. Best place to go on holiday in the UK is, well, anywhere you can get the weather. If you can't get the weather, I'd go on a city break. London, York, Manchester, Chester, they're all good places to go. if you can get the weather, get yourself down to Devon or Cornwall. Yeah, do that. Sacking says, we always have some nonsense going on during the transfer window. We need to finish the Ten Hag saga, keep him on, and move to the transfers. I completely agree. And the killer man Gomag says, I would think Barada is one of those swayed on Ten Hag. He was an admirer of Ten Hag in the past, unless I'm misremembering. No, he was at Man City. They definitely did. And Dre says the same. It's definitely Barada. He looked at Ten Hag at City. And why would anyone, I don't care about winning De Zerbi, says Daniel. And Shahin says, at this point, I wouldn't even be unhappy if we don't get Ashworth. He's a politician and he doesn't know football as much as he thinks he does. And Slow Sports News says, hi Mark, hope you're doing well. As you know, I've been behind Eric all the way. I feel sorry for the guy because he's been criticised for the limit choices he has had as a manager. And Alexander says, whilst other clubs sign and sell players, INEOS are wasting valuable time considering restarting another 5-year project. And Shabazz wants some stability. Get yourself some crutches, mate. Joke. Yeah, I still believe that we can get transfers done, as I've said. HKN says, Eric Ten Hag is getting sacked. INEOS are just letting the fans celebrate the FA Cup. They always wanted their own guy. They don't care about what fans think, which is a good thing. Fans are too reactionary, says HKN. Well, I disagree. We'll see what happens, won't we? I disagree. I think Ten Hag is going to stay. I can't give it you categorically, but from what we've been told tonight and what we've been hearing over the last 24 to 48 hours, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think they've woken up and found the coffee. And they should have found it a little bit sooner, to be honest. Mark has got the side profile of a Greek god. It's because I've just got out of the shower, actually, because I felt ill. So my hair is about as good as it can get. Daniel Shaba says, despite lacklustre management from INEOS, I still want Ten Hag out. An FA Cup and Carabao a few young players is not enough for me, unfortunately. It's an amazing comment, Daniel. An FA Cup and a Carabao Cup and a promotion of young players is not enough for Daniel. Have you been in a coma for the last decade, Daniel? Because the previous 8 years were shit. There was no youth development and there was no trophies coming in. So I don't know what it is you think you're going to get, Daniel, but you're living in a fantasy, mate. I can still win the community kitchen. Yeah, Cartec have done that. And Zeus says, I think McTominay is the energizer bunny. He never stops running. You might not know where he's going, but he'll always run. McTominay has that dog in him, the one that belongs to Manchester player. Lad lacks skill though, but he's got the spirit. Well, that's not enough, DV, in my opinion. James says that earlier today, Beth seemed to think De Zerbi is being reconsidered. Is that true? Feel better, mate. We're brothers in United. Ten Hag in all the way. I don't think that De Zerbi is being considered by Man United any more than he ever has been. I just think he's looking for a job. And De Zerbi's and Tuchel's job opportunities are thinning by the second. Chelsea's job's gone. Bayern Munich's job's gone. Liverpool's job's gone. So these people are desperate. Man United shouldn't be appointing desperate people. Darth Vader doesn't become good, Mark. Anakin returns to the light, says the Angry Tower. There's always a Star Wars fan. INEOS own less than 30%, so rule isn't applicable. We play Europa League, says Hitton. Thank you very much for that. I bet they keep Ten Hag for the summer. Then as soon as it gets tough next season, they will move for Southgate, says BS. And Nick James says, will Big Six become Big Eight with the Toon and Villa? Don't care. Paul S., we've already spoken about the ramifications of UEFA rules, and we all agree that Man United will be playing in the Europa League. Just want to touch on, I want to talk about all these sackings or potential sackings that INEOS are carrying out at Man United, because as a man of the people, and as men and women of the people, which you are, if you're part of this community, then you are empathetic, I hope. We have to look beyond managers and players. There are a lot of good people who work at Manchester United Football Club whose jobs have been thrown into jeopardy ever since INEOS came in. They're looking to save money for the football club. And they're looking to save money for the football club based on efficiency reasons, but also to save money. This football club is in debt. This football club has had tens of millions of pounds taken out of it by the Glazers who've never put a pound in. We're now going to make good people redundant because the Glazers fucked up. We're now going to knock Old Trafford down because the Glazers fucked up. Now, INEOS will get the bad press for sacking people and taking us away from Old Trafford potentially. But it's not INEOS that are knocking Old Trafford down and building a new ground. And it's not INEOS that are sacking people, good people. It's because of the Glazers. I will read that out because I think it's really important. And then we'll talk about a potential issue that we face next season. But this is really, really important. And it is something that we do need to not just sweep under the carpet because it's Manchester United and it's not related to a manager. So staff have been informed early payment of an annual bonus if they resign by next Wednesday will be paid. This is part of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's edict to get all employers into the club's offices and is pushed to trim the workforce. So basically, the rumour is that hundreds of Man United employees have been offered an early bonus payment as part of what is effectively redundancy, as Sir Jim Ratcliffe tries to reduce the employee numbers at Manchester United. I think it's really sad. I think it's very, very sad that people are going to lose their job because these aren't Marcus Rashford on 350 grand a week. It's not Casemiro on 300 grand a week. It's not Donny van der Beek on 150 grand a week. This is somebody who's got a mortgage, probably on 30, 40, 50 grand a week, a year. This is a lifeline. You know, this is, you're on the scrap heap with no job. This is very, very important and it's not good. And we have a social responsibility as Manchester United fans to be the voice of those people that won't have a voice because they're not a star striker or a manager. These are good people being made redundant because the Glazers have stripped this club to the bare bones with dividends and debt. And INEOS have now got to do the hard stuff. Now, I don't know whether INEOS need to do this or not, but they need to raise money. They need to raise money at a football club that's broke. And I think as you move away from the sad redundancies and unemployment that's coming for these Man United employees, and we wish them all the best, the sad realisation on a football sense is just how harsh and bleak the financial situation is. We're not owned by Qatar. If we'd have been bought by Qatar, these people would be keeping their jobs. That debt would be gone. And that's another side of things that people don't want to talk about. Would all these people have lost their job if Qatar had got hold of Man United? Possibly not. But it does expose the sheer volume of debt that Man United have. And it does expose, if Man United are saving money by sacking people on 30 grand a week, 30 grand a year, just how bad the situation is. But it's an inherited situation. This doesn't fall squarely on INEOS legs. This falls on the lap of the Glazers who, you know, if you just think of all the dividends they've had, these people wouldn't be getting the sack. So, and they've got no right to take those dividends, by the way, because they've never put a pound into this football club. Never. Alistair Kenny says, did you see the disgusting comments on Ten Hag from Simon Jordan earlier? I didn't. I don't listen to him. I've got no respect for anybody that's a coward. He's a coward. He wouldn't have a chat about Man United with the biggest Man United fan community. So he's a coward. He's a self-pontificating genius in his own bedroom and headroom, sorry. Don't know about the bedroom. And what he says is irrelevant. So, you know, what he says is irrelevant because I've even heard him say, it's my opinion. Whether people agree with it or not, it's my opinion. It's his opinion. Let him have his opinion, but he gets sat down by any of you lot. Anybody who knows anything about Man United would sit these people down because they talk half-truths. I was on TalkSport yesterday morning. They don't even know what Man United fans think. They don't even know the volume of problems that we've had at this football club. They wouldn't even consider that Mason Greenwood was meant to be our backup striker last season and got took away. Do your research before you start talking about our football club. Naz, thank you very much for your super chat. Mojo, the legend, is in the chat, says, have you read the Guardian article, which is about INEOS having 48 hours or so to convince UEFA that they can both go in? We've spoken about it, Mojo. There's no way we're not going to play in the Europa League. Absolutely none. Best places to go in the UK is Gibraltar, says Dull. Daniel says there's triggered people in the chat. Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you very much on that. But that was the chair again, look. There you go, audio confirmation. What I do want to say is, oh, if you want to pre-order the book, by the way, Gems has pinned it at the top of the live chat. I mean, I haven't even clicked this in ages, Gems. Let me have a look. Okay, so yeah, you can still get you can pre-order it on Amazon worldwide. You can pre-order the audiobook on Amazon worldwide. And if you live in the UK, you can pre-order a signed copy from WH Smith or other book outlets. So that's coming out in a number of weeks. So get ready for that. Can't wait. Bino says, TalkSport cut you off and then hung up on you for daring to go along with their narrative. Mate, I'm done with that. I'm not doing it anymore. It's a waste of time. It was a good conversation that was an opposition to what they'd been on about for an hour, and they cut me off and just went, oh, thanks for that, bye. I was like, yeah, I've got a list of things to talk about to sit you down. Nah, forget that. Forget that. What's the point? Few people anyway, let's just talk about this. I think it's really important. So Erik ten Hag stays at Manchester United. What are the dangers he faces next season? And also, when we're talking about redundancies and the obvious elephant in the room that we don't have a lot of money, is next season potentially a poison chalice for Erik ten Hag? Well, yes and no. If we don't sell players and we don't buy enough players, then we will face the same problems next season. We won't be good enough because we weren't good enough this year. Spurs were better than us, Villa were better than us, and obviously Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City were better than us. Newcastle and Chelsea, toss a coin. But we ended up where we should have ended up, not because of the manager, because of the squad. And injuries were a factor, but we just weren't good enough. We are, as a team, our best 11, which we never saw, wasn't available. And the team that we had to put out was never better than Spurs or Villa. So we ended up where we should have ended up. So next season, there's got to be recruitment and there's got to be removal. And if that doesn't happen, then Ten Hag will struggle. That is the biggest thing. If he gets players in and he gets players out, we will improve 100%. If you bring in Michael Olise, if you bring in Edison, if you bring in Todibo, you bring in Branthwaite and you bring in Frimpong, that's 5 players that will improve us massively straight away. So yeah, we need a striker as well. So all those things need to happen. And we need to remove a few players as well. So that's the first thing. That's the priority. Second thing is player power, which does exist and has existed since the days of Jose Mourinho. That dressing room is a light switch that can turn itself on and off. We saw that dressing room on Saturday. Even though we didn't have our best 11, we saw what they can do. We've also seen what they can't do for years. So player power is very important. But that comes with removal and that comes with recruitment. You've got to dilute that dressing room. You've got to keep players like Rasmus and Garnacho and Delo and Mainu and Bruno, and you've got to remove other players, of which we know who they are. So that's got to happen and player power will dilute. The financials are really important because you can't remove and recruit if you haven't got the financials. So that's going to be really, really important. I also think the media are a big problem for Erik ten Hag, because they never wanted him in the first place. And they've, at any first chance they can get, they ridicule him and they're never going to stop. One thing about the mainstream, whether it's Simon Jordan or Sky Sports or whatever, is that they never will accept they were wrong. And they will hold on to it forever. You know, there will be people out there that said that Lisandro Martinez is too small for the Premier League, who've been completely and utterly sat down, but they will wait. Even if it takes 6 years for him to fall off, they'll go, I always said he was too small. They don't change their mind and they won't forget. So the media is always going to be a problem for Erik ten Hag. But it's not the problem you think, actually. I don't think the media is the problem because nobody really respects them and nobody really listens to them. And Erik ten Hag certainly doesn't. So I don't think next season really comes down to player power or the media. I don't think they're a threat. The media used to be a threat when they could manipulate you, but they can't. And I'm not saying you, the United Stand community, because they can't, but I'm also saying online fans, match-going fans. People have woken up to the fact that you can criticise Jamie Carragher, even though he's quite a good pundit. he can say something stupid and you'll go, oh, I'm not bloody listening to him. There are legends of this football club who sometimes talk shit and get ridiculed by their own fan base, whether it's Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, whatever. So this air of authority and more than that, control that the media have is gone. So I don't think they're a threat to Ten Hag, and I don't think they're a threat to us. I think the biggest threat to Ten Hag next season is what INEOS do over the summer. And they've got to be all in or there's no point. Like I said this morning, and funnily enough, it was in, I can't remember what journalist said it, but I said it this morning. It was on the morning show. INEOS backed Ten Hag on transfers. So even if Ten Hag goes, they're still going to buy the players that Ten Hag wanted. I wouldn't go as far as to say recommended, because there's a process behind that. But we're not waiting for a new manager to sign players. We are going for players that Ten Hag wants because INEOS agree. So even if Ten Hag leaves and De Zerbi comes in, we will still sign Todibo, Branthwaite, Frimpong, Alisi, these types of players, Sesko, whoever it is. We're not going to do a different list. The list is set. And the most important thing is that they follow through on that, because I'm tired of it. Mojo, I'm not tired of you. 10 memberships gifted, what a legend by Mojo. I'm tired of it, and I'm sure you're tired of it. And I'm very reluctant to do this, but I will. We've been doing, at Christmas, it's 10 years of the United Stand, which is amazing, isn't it? The United Stand, it's 10 years at Christmas. We started off in August 10 years ago as Soccerbox, and it was meant to be a general football channel. And then I was like, you know, I'm just going to do United because I couldn't be asked to do every other club. So 10 years of the United Stand at Christmas. And in that 10 years, how many summers do you think around this time we've gone, this is going to be an amazing summer? We're going to sell 7 players and we're going to buy 7 players. I think we've said it pretty much every summer for 10 years. And it's never really happened. Some have been better than others. Some have been shit. And that's my biggest concern for Erik ten Hag or any manager of Man United next season, is that we can't fail to deliver in the transfer market, because there are so many clubs better than us in the Premier League at the moment, squad-wise and quality-wise. Spurs' squad's better than ours. It is. They've got way more depth in the midfield. They have. They've got Bentancur, Højbjerg, Sarr, Basuma, Maddison, Lo Celso. They've got much better depth. Same as Villa. Same as Newcastle. We're not even mentioning Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea and Man City. So regardless of the manager situation, success next season will be based upon what we do in the transfer market. And someone just said, laugh out loud, Spurs. You might want to have a look at the league, mate. They've definitely got a better squad than us. The only similarity with Spurs is they've only got one striker, really, haven't they? But I think Spurs' squad's better than ours. Yeah, I do. I think on paper ours is better, but performance-wise, it's not there, is it? But look, I think that, I think next season depends on the transfer market more than it does on media or player power. I think if you have a good summer transfer window, player power will be diluted. And if you have a good summer transfer window, the fans will be on board with INEOS and the manager, Ten Hag, and media will just have to get on board. I mean, look, we've had a bad year with the media. I mean, some of the stuff that's been put out there is disgusting. We know what certain journalists have said about certain players, and it's disgusting. So I think the traditional media they're like a fish on a fishing line, flapping around, but they've been caught out, and they need to adapt, and they need to realize that they can't just dictate to people. You've got to communicate with them on a level and respect them. And just because you've had connections with football clubs for years, because of, Manchester Evening News, for example, Daily Mail, Telegraph, these are institutions. But yeah, I think it's most important that we. I think this. Look, I'm a broken record because I've said this before. The most important thing about Manchester United this summer is not sacking the manager. It's not building a stadium. It's selling players and buying players. To you, what's the most important thing we do this summer? Because for me, it doesn't matter who the manager is if you've got the same players and you don't bring new players in. We are a long way behind the likes of Aston Villa, and that's what we've got to close first. We're right to look at Man City. We're right to look at Arsenal. We're right to look at Liverpool. But first of all, we've got to get ourselves beyond the Newcastles, the Chelseas, the Spurs and the Villas. And that's what next season's going to be, really. Because we took a step back. And I think it's also very important to acknowledge that. Solskjaer had it, Mourinho had it, and Ten Hag had it, where you've got this momentum and you've got something to build upon, and then the Glazers don't do it. And this has happened so many times. It happened to Van Gaal as well. We talk about the cycle of sacking managers, but there's also a cycle of a manager comes in, does really well, normally in the first 12 months, and then that summer, the Glazers just go, forget about it. And that is the most important thing, is that when you look at last summer, Glazers didn't deliver. They didn't deliver. That I gave last summer's transfer window a 4. Some of you wanted to give it an 8 because we spent money on Mount and Onana and Rasmus, but I gave it a 4. We didn't remove enough players. We didn't bring in enough players. And that's on the Glazers and Richard Arnold and Murta. I think that last summer didn't help. And on top of that, not selling the club didn't help. And then after that, off-field activities didn't help. And injuries didn't help. But let's never forget, last summer was not a good preparation for the season anyway. Even without the injuries, I would have only put us 4th. So, you know, thoughts on Rashford to Arsenal, says Nomad. It will never happen. Never going to happen. Just never going to happen. Do you think we will sign a striker or use a false 9, says Nick? We have to sign a striker because if Rasmus Højlund gets injured for 3 months, we haven't got a striker. You can play a false 9, but we haven't got a striker. So we've got to. We've absolutely got to. Do you think we will? What happens if next season we keep Erik Ten Hag and we have more injuries? Slow start and it's more of the same. What's the excuse for Erik, says JS? But JS, you're talking in riddles, really, because what happens next season if we win the next 10 games and we're top of the league? Everyone's going to be going, oh my God, we were that close to sacking him and we've got the best manager in the world. What happens if we lose our first 10 games? You'll get sacked. Like, you can't sack a guy on hypotheticals. Like, I believe we will have a good season next season. Absolutely convinced we'll get in the top 4 and win another trophy. You can't say, what if we lose all these games? You'll get the sack, mate. You'll get the sack. But I'm not sacking him on some prediction. BSOD has gifted 5 memberships. You're a legend. Moose says you're looking cute. Thank you. Ty says, I loved seeing Shearer and Lineker getting ripped apart from their shite comments on Erik Ten Hag after the final, says Ty. Yeah, but have you seen Shearer again on their podcast, Doubling Down? They're so arrogant. They're so arrogant. Hey, look, we mentioned Simon Jordan. There are plenty others out there. They are quite within their right to sit there pontificating in glass houses, scared to speak to us. But our door, and mine, is always open to that chat. They won't do it because they'll get sat down. And I think we're all getting a little bit tired of one-way traffic from these people who aren't educated on our football club, but think they have the right to just gob off about it. Naz says we need a proper leader of men like Southgate. Lovely stuff, Naz. How long does Erik Ten Hag's impact on youth development take? Is Meno and Garnacho just good timing? No doubt giving them game time is to his credit, says Cyber. Mate, there's a conveyor belt of players ready to come through. I think one of the most exciting things when Ten Hag gets confirmed, and we'll have this chat over the next few weeks, predict the breakout player for next year. Because, you know, Lacey's been mentioned, Amas has been mentioned. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a completely different name. And that's the exciting thing. There will be a breakout player next year at Manchester United. So yeah. What does tweet Cooper mean? Doesn't make any sense. What does tweet Cooper mean? Shearer hates United. Says, oh, yeah, he always has done, mate. He always has. He always has done. And also, to be fair to Alan Shearer, his beloved Newcastle missed out on European football because of Man United. What about Steve Cooper? Yeah. I mean, look, I saw through Shearer's moaning straight away. It was because Newcastle. He'd have been thinking that Man City were going to beat us, and therefore Newcastle would be in Europe. So yeah. Thoughts on Rashford to Arsenal? We need Glazer kryptonite, says Mushy. Well, look, very, very good show tonight. I've survived throwing up, which is great news, and hopefully I can get back on it tomorrow because there's nothing worse than a piece of toast. So, well, toast is nice, but you know, I should be eating a burger or something. Do you think we'll get any transfers confirmed in June, whether it's buy or sell, says Shahin? And look, traditionally this week and next week are quite slow on transfers, but from what I'm hearing, I don't think that'll be the case. The big question mark is whether Man United are going to wait to announce Ten Hag first or do transfers. I don't know politically how that works, because if you announce a player this week, it gives everybody a buzz. But then if you sack the manager, it really doesn't probably make sense. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to hear about Ten Hag for a few days yet anyway, but it's nice that we're hearing positive things and hopefully that can continue. But thank you very much, Shahin. Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. You're absolute legends. Community's absolutely popping off at the moment. It was great to have Beth on today after the bank holiday weekend to get her thoughts, of course. And there isn't an Ornstein tweet, so stop trying to wind people up. That was the joke from last week, and I won't be caught out again. So chill your boots. Apparently, breaking news, Wayne Rooney will no longer be playing for Girth and Turf. He's fully committed to his job at Plymouth, and we'll all be supporting them. Short-lived legend on the Girth and Turf. A bit like me. I played for Girth and Turf for a little bit and had to leave to focus on other things. So, yeah, thank you. Lovely stuff. Okay. Absolute legends. United have started sharing more social content, including Erik Ten Hag from yesterday. There was hardly any. Surely he's staying, says Dre. Hey, they need the socials. They need the socials. Back in the morning with you, unless anything breaks before. We've had nearly 3,000 likes. Make sure you subscribe. You're absolute legends. I'm loving the show. I'm loving the shows at the moment. I don't always say that, but I genuinely am loving the shows at the moment, and I think hopefully we're in for a really positive and summer. And we've got the Euros as well, and that's football, which will be great. But hopefully, in relation to Man United, we've got a really positive summer. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Thanks for all the get well messages. I'm drinking my water, and I'll speak to you later. Take care. Don't forget to pre-order the book if you want to. Links in the live chat. Speak to you in a bit.